Good evening and welcome to Kitchen Conversations. I'm glad you're here tonight, whether you're online or in person. So, last week we had a bit of a technical tofu, or week before last, December the 1st, important date. And so we weren't able to do what is the meaning of women of color. And so I thought I would bring it back tonight. It's a powerful topic, and I learned a lot researching this. So I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. So as we get ready to bring forth this evening to engage our mind, our hearts, and our emotion, let's open the way for our hearts to be open. So let's just take this moment and breathe into it. As we recognize that there's a divine divinity that is taking place, that this divinity is unfolding through each and every one of us in its own unique way. As this time is gathered around family and friends, know that each and every one is a unique emanation of God. And our only thing to do is to bring love. To bring love in our hearts and our minds and our thinking. Knowing that when we bring love, love is what we will receive. And in these times where families and friends are on such different parts of the path of how to get to peace, love, joy, remember that God is in us all. So we remember that as we take this walk on the path of history of learning how inequality is in our world right now, and how we, Universal Spirit Center, are standing in a space to call for higher consciousness, to call for greater love. So as we know this, we breathe this out knowing that all is well, and we get ready for our theme song. Sounds like there's two things on. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to have you stop all the music. All right. Let's leave 15 and 16 off. And so I'm going to have you restart our theme song. And then click play again for that. So make sure everything is on, everything is green. Okay, so we're going to move right along. Our theme song, None of Us Are Free. This song was sung by Solomon Burke, and so I feel it in my spirit tonight, so I'll just do a little bit of a cappella of it. Well, you better listen, my sisters and brothers, 'cause if you do, you will hear the voices that are calling across the years. And they're calling across the ocean, and they're calling across the land. And it will until we all understand that none of us are free. None of us are free. None of us are free. If one of us in chains, none of us are free. 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 If one of us is in chains, don't you know we are not because it's a reminder that we are in all of this together. And no matter where you stand, it affects your life. It affects the life of our well-being. It affects the future of what we can be as a global community, as a world. So we are in this space here and now. Take your breath, get ready. And let's see here. Now I have a video that I have set up.
Y'all know where the term woman of color came from? Who can say that? We're bad at transmitting history. In 1977, a group of black women from Washington, D.C. went to the National Women's Conference that Jimmy Carter had given $5 million to have as part of the World Decade for Women. There was a conference in Houston, Texas. This group of black women carried to that conference something called a Black Women's Agenda, because the organizers of the conference, Bella Abdul, Ellie Smil, and what have you, had put together a 3-page minority women's plank in a 200-page document that these black women thought was somewhat inadequate. And so they actually formed a group called Black Women's Agenda to come there in Houston with a black women's plan of action that they wanted the delegates to vote to substitute for the minority plank that was in the proposed plan of action. Well, a funny thing happened in Houston. When they took the Black Women's Agenda to Houston, then all the rest of the minority women of color wanted to be included in the Black Women's Agenda. Okay, well, they agreed, except that you could no longer call it the Black Women's Agenda. And it was in those negotiations in Houston the term women of color was created. Okay? And they didn't see it as a biological designation. You're born Asian, you're born black, you're born African American, whatever. It is a solidarity definition, a commitment to work in collaboration with other oppressed women of color who have been minoritized. Now, what's happened, in the 30 years since then is that people see it as biology now. Okay, and people are saying, I don't want to be defined as a woman of color. I am black, I am Asian American. Well, that's fine, but why are you reducing a political designation to a biological destiny? That's what white supremacy wants you to do. And I think it's a setback when we disintegrate as people of color, around primitive ethnic claiming. Yes, we are Asian American, Native American, whatever, but the point is when you choose to work with other people who are minoritized by oppression, you have lifted yourself out of that basic identity into another political being, another political space. And unfortunately, so many times people of color hear the term people of color from other white people that they think white people created it, instead of understanding that we self-named ourselves this. This is a term that has a lot of power for us, but we've done a poor-ass job of communicating that history so that people understand that power.
Wow. I loved learning that. Because I have to say, I didn't realize why I didn't like that I was a woman of color. That I felt as though I was just lumped in with every different nationality, and that in a sense it almost didn't feel like it was honoring each culture. That it was just, we have white people and then we got people of color. It's just this huge collection of different cultures that's who they are. And so learning this, understanding that this was a political movement, the women's rights movement, to help facilitate women to be empowered. And I don't know if you heard, but there was a 300-page document. And out of that 300-page document, there were 3 pages that was supposed to address women of color, which, I don't know, that seems really, really tiny. And so you had black women that came together that said, no, these are our list and demands. And in that, it made sense listening to her explain it, and I don't know that it ever been explained to me like that, because I always thought that it was associated with my biology, because I am considered a brown, a woman of color, black. And so it just, at that time, I thought, wow, they've just lumped us all in. And I will say that I made the mistake of thinking that it was white people that gave that name, women of color. And so it really helped open my heart and clean up that it's a powerful statement, not when I take it on as biology, but when I take it on as a political stance, that women of different cultures that are of color have come together to collectively move us forward, to have a voice in the workplace, in childcare, in education, in every area. This was really, I don't even have to look at it, because I remembered it, that, of course, the scale of pay, the white male is here. Then it's the white woman, black woman, Asian, Hispanic, boom, 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 boom. And so when you look at between the black woman and the white woman is about 73, 74 cents. Black woman's at about 63 cents. Doing the same job, same thing. If she can move in that space. The Hispanic woman drops down to about 57 cents. And the Asian woman is around about 53, 54, something like that as well. Excuse me. And so you have this dichotomy that in a workplace, where in school, it's talked about how, number one, women overall, the sexism, the harassment, all women deal with that. But then you deal with, on top of the fact that women of color get paid less, usually have to work one or more jobs, or a lot of times insulted that they don't have the education, they are not literate, and so there's all of this distance. There's a law firm, and one of the executives spoke very candidly, based out of New York, and I thought, wow, that's very interesting, that they were asking the question for a mentor for the other women of color in this organization. Why do they not have as many mentors? And so the executive said very clearly that he feels uncomfortable because there is no common background, not knowing how to talk to her. And the reporter asked, well, what would be the difference between a white woman? And basically he said that she looks like me, so she thinks like me, and I can relate to that and feel my power better than I can with a woman of color. And I was really blown away. I was like, that's so honest, but it kind of makes sense when you think about it. If you're in a professional situation, and for most of the time, if you look in the medical field, in the law, I mean, any field that you look in where you're on the upper echelon, you don't have very many people of color. And so you end up with maybe one or two that have gone through hell and high water to make it to that point. And the other side of that, which is very interesting, because, and this is not all black people, I'm just saying some, this is an overview. So you have this black woman that has made it to an executive level. And I'll use sports, because you see it a lot with sports, where black men, very few black women, have made it to this other level. And you'll see a lot of times that their mate, their friends, their inner circle are all people that are white for the most part. Just not the family. And sometimes even with the family, they cross the family out. And so there is this hardcore line that in order to have this, they can't have this. There is this two-headed monster, for lack of a better word, that you have to be professional in this way at this time, and this is how you act. And if you have family members that maybe have done things illegally, or maybe they don't speak as well as you, they're sometimes, and not everyone, but some feel embarrassed. And so they hide that family. So along with trying to prove that you belong, that you have studied, that you have gone to school, you have done the work, that you're capable of doing the job, you also have this other dynamic that's unspoken but very present. That I can't mix and mingle with you as me. I have to mix and mingle with you as the pseudo black person. And then you have black people that get offended that, okay, I'm glad that you're doing well, but now you don't want to deal with your people. You marry white because it's more comfortable. You want your kids, especially a lot of times if it's a woman that is, and I'm speaking of black, if it's a dark-skinned black woman, a lot of times because we have been brainwashed that the darker our skin, the more unattractive we are. And so you don't want to bring your children into the world with dark skin. You may not say it in the outside voice, but you want them to have a better chance. And so if you marry someone white, you're hoping that they take more of his complexion than yours. And of course, this isn't everybody, but this has been something very real and very present in our society. So with women of color, and I would imagine with Asian and Hispanic, you have different things as well there that they have to battle beyond just doing the job or trying to be an applicant for the job. In some cases, when you show up, you're automatically dismissed. They'll say that you don't have enough on your resume, you don't have enough experience. If you don't have enough experience, well, we're not really looking. And so you have all of these barriers. So many of them we are seeing, but a lot of them, I don't even know if people realize that aren't of people of color, that aren't, I will say not people of color, people that are not black or Asian or Hispanic, that don't understand. Just as we have to learn about your culture, you don't necessarily have to learn about our culture. It reminds me of when I first started traveling abroad, how pretty much every country I went to, people spoke English. But now, as an American, I was like, wow, I don't speak any language. I tried French and loved it and was really doing well, but then college hit and my priorities were staying out, gigging and singing and partying. And I couldn't make my French class in the morning. But we're not instilled to learn other languages. It's like, oh no, we have the king language. Everybody should learn our language. But when you travel, I felt like, wow, who are we that we don't instill in our kids? And by that I mean kids that if you come from middle class a lot of times, and definitely if you're in a low income, that's not something that is even talked about unless you are Hispanic and you're learning English. But we don't instill in our kids in our in our schooling, demanding that they learn one or two different languages, because that also helps you learn a culture. And I find that we haven't learned enough of our American Black history culture for us to feel comfortable with one another. So as I was looking at this, there is the young woman that spoke. Her organization is called Sister Song. Very powerful organization of what they're doing with women of color. To support us in understanding who we are. And I don't mean that as who we are in the workplace, who we are in society, what we bring to this world. Women are a powerful force. We are creative, we are intelligent, we are inventors, we are magnificent beings. One of the women, and we're having her movie this Friday, Madam C.J. Walker, was in a time where definitely blacks were struggling to make their own way. And her story is really quite interesting, and I hope you come out Friday to check out the film, because it's really powerful and well done. But here was a woman that had nothing. She was brown skinned, maybe more dark skinned, and so you see the play out. There's a woman that what we in our culture call high yellow. She was very, very light complected. And she had a hair balm, a hair cream. And she was inviting people to sell her hair product. But when Madam C.J. Walker showed up, because of her dark skin, and this is how deep it has been running, she automatically assumed that this woman was dumb, stupid, not able to grasp. And so we see in today, in 2021, that still plays out. That whether people are aware that they're thinking that or not, that it's present. The old, the thing that they did with children, they showed a white baby and a black baby. And they said, which is the pretty baby? It was the white baby. Which is the ugly baby? Was the black baby. Which is the bad baby? Was the black baby. Which is the good baby? And this is 99.9% of the time. This last study that was done was in 2015. 2015. That's still present because it is still in our culture. There is a deep-rooted consciousness that brown-skinned people are bad or lazy. I love, they asked one little girl, which one is the lazy one? And she pointed directly to, to the black baby. That's the one that's lazy. And so all of these things, they don't stop when we're children. So as a woman, we're faced with that even more so. When she talked about the women's rights, it's so interesting that the women were fighting for the right to vote. Yet initially, they didn't want black women to participate. It's like we're doing the same thing that we don't want done to us, but no, it's different. But they needed us. And so those that were very much against it, there were others that got in there and got involved and understood the power of all women coming together. And I just have to say that we got to show up, because they're trying to reverse things on women that's just downright harmful. It should be against the law. that anybody has any right over my body or your body, whether or not if you want to have a child or not, or how you want to pursue that. And so be clear that it's not going to stop abortions, but it will kill more women because they will do things out of desperation to have an abortion. So we as women have to really rise up. And there were men as well that were a part of the Women's Rights Act. So what do you do if you're in the workplace in a situation? I just kept thinking about this executive that said, I don't want to mentor a black woman because I'm uncomfortable. Start reading. You know, we have families, we have doctor bills, we have schools, you know, and a lot of the women of color are the head of household. So Sing Sister, which is this powerful organization, they create space for our movement leaders and organizations to engage in continual, professional, and organizational development toward the, my iPad is clicking in and out. Development toward sustainability and longevity in the workplace. And so if the exec is uncomfortable, can you imagine what the woman feels that is fighting every day? Personal story. My mom worked for the government, and I'm from the Midwest, so the things there were either you worked for the car company, the government, or the postal, but the government was very big, like the car company there. And so they have stages. You can be a G1 or a G2 or a F this, that you climb up the scale. And with each promotion, of course, your pay is increased. And I would see my mother pretty much every day. She hated her job. She worked with mainframes before we got these little small computers. And it was so funny when I was teaching her on the computer. I was like, Mama, you but it's very different, very different. And so she worked with mainframes, and she took night classes and did extra schooling to get more of the information that she needed in order to rise up. And I literally saw my mom come home many days in tears, because the women that she worked with, and this is women against women, were so catty. And women deal with this stuff. It's not just men that do this. We do this to each other, and we got to wake up and recognize that that's not how we support each other. But they started this thing. It was kind of ingenious, but just nasty. Every time my mother would come in and go to her desk, somebody would first start coughing. Then they start, do you smell that? Do you smell that? You know, first it went over her head. But by the third day, she was recognizing that every time she came into the office, this was the conversation that was happening within their office. And somebody would walk past her, tell, "Woo, yeah, I smell it. I smell it." And she worked with all white women. Her supervisor was a black woman who had gone through the trenches and was 3 grades ahead of her. And they were acquaintances and then became friends. And so I would see my mother come home in tears and coming to me, do you smell me? Because now she's she's getting that they're saying that there's something emanating from her that everybody can smell. And, I was a kid, probably about, 10 or 11. And I was like, no, Mama, I don't know. And so this caused this woman to do extreme things to her body, because every day that she went to work, she was dealing with this. Every day. Now, on top of that, my mother was married, so she wasn't on her own. But still, and my stepfather worked for the government too. But still within this, she's got to go into that room, to that office every day, knowing that something like this is going to take place. And it went on for about 3 months. She was in the process of getting her next stage up, her next level of advancement. And she found out later that she was up against another white woman who they liked more than my mom, who, this was one of our sisters. And so they were doing all of this to put her into a headspin. And, there were days that I saw my mother just cry. She didn't want to go. But what is it? A black woman is strong and we can work through anything. And she went. After 3 months, and she decided, I don't even want to be in this department anymore. Just transfer me anywhere. They wouldn't sit with her at lunch. I mean, it's very powerful when you come together as a unit. But let us come together as a unit to move everybody forward. There's more than enough. And so she got a transfer. And I'll never forget this. She came home. There was a sense of peace, but sadness. In order to transfer, she'd have to take a demotion. But for her to have some peace where she could work and not feel that disconnect, feel that she was this stinky woman working. She had stopped wearing perfume. I mean, I saw my mother go through just this complete shift. And of course, her personality shifted. There was just pain. But she's got kids, got to go to work. And she did. And as a kid, what I saw, and I got angry as a kid because I'm thinking, just whoop them upside the head, whoop them upside the head. But that's not how you handle something. And now my mother made a grievance. She did. She followed the protocol. That backfired. Because no one said, oh, no, we have no idea what Geneva's talking about. Have no idea. Don't know anything. So I share that story because there are many women out there right now that are caught in the fight. That are coming to work to do what they can. To make a better living. They've gone to school. And I saw her hopes and dreams of moving up really just like, forget it. Why spend the time in school? Why do this? Why go through all of that if this is what I'm going to be left with? And so for a year, she just took her demotion and she went to work. And there was a peace until all of the ladies in that other department got a higher rank than her. And then there was a fire that just lit inside of her. But she had to get almost mean in order to move up. She had to move out of what I knew my mother to be as her personality and become this other person. And so when we look at women in the workplace, be it a white woman looking at another woman, Asian, Hispanic, black, we're all there trying to do the best we can. And everybody doesn't want the same thing. Everybody doesn't want the same thing. You know, one of the things that really blows my mind about right now is that people are afraid of letting go of what they think is the American dream. Yet that dream is different for everyone. And there's plenty of the dream to go around. So with this organization, Seeing Sister, I love that they actually take women through different scenarios to help them learn how to approach a situation just like that, or to approach a boss, or how to make a legitimate claim that somebody is not allowing you to move forward. Now, it doesn't guarantee it, but they have lawyers. And this is where we've come to. Because if you do the work and you're capable of doing the work, it should be on the merits of the work, but it's not. More times than not, it is not. And so one of their manifesto for the women of color, Seeing Sister, we deserve better. We deserve better. We deserve better from our country. We deserve better from our sisters. We deserve better from those that we work with. We deserve better. And it says, as a woman of color, I have a responsibility to stand up for my people. We are one of the most undervalued groups within society, yet we act as the glue that holds our communities together. We constantly face bias and discrimination stemming from racism, sexism, socialism, and ethnic stereotypes. Women in generally, but highly amplified among women of color, face a double standard. We must prove domestic care, but also participate in the workforce to support our families. Why aren't men or white women held to the same standards? Why is this care work often viewed as a woman's duty? We must change the way society views women of color, or better yet, the way society treats women of color. I know that I speak from a place of privilege, but I understand the everyday struggles that women of color face. I understand that we need change by diversifying the population that performs care work. And this particular woman is talking about in the medical field, how we now have more men as nurses, but at one time it was all women. And if a man did become a nurse, it was like he was a joke. So it's beautiful that that's happening. Treating women of color the same as their white counterparts and eliminating racial and gender stereotypes. We can create equality in the future of women of color. We must diversify the population that performs care work, as it should not be a burden that singly handily falls on women of color. Historically speaking, enslaved African Americans served as our country's care workers, which is true. You know, we took care of the master's children. We bore their children. Although slavery has been eradicated, well, I don't know. Maybe. Care work still falls heavily within the black community. So, we will dive deeper and more to this in the new year coming up. I'm really excited about what REP has in store for next year. And we continue to have this conversation, be a part of this conversation, because things have not changed. That there's still inequality in our world. And when we get that this inequality, it affects us now, it will affect our future children, it will affect the children after those children. And we will end up in a world that does not, and when I say a world, not just the United States, this is global, it's all over. You know, it comes in all different shades and sizes. And in that, all shades, sizes, sex, we keep finding ways to say that one is better than the other when we're all in this thing together. We're all in this thing together. So I want to share with you some powerful, beautiful statements from women of color. Music. I'll let those. So, very good. Really powerful statements, and some of them that stuck out in my mind. I love what Tracy Ellen Ross said, that we have to remember how beautiful that we are, how magnificent that we are, that my curves, my shape, my lips, that they're mine and they're beautiful. And Nina Simone, who I love, who is amazing, singer, songwriter, activist, said, when there is no longer love at the table, we must learn to leave. That just broke my heart open. So I hope you have opened your heart to love, to this divine time, and to recognizing that when you see someone that doesn't look like you, recognizing that they are as much a gift as you are, and that they have family, they have hopes, they have dreams, and they're not here to stop you, to thwart your process. They're here to expand us all. Madam C.J. Walker, one of our first black millionaires, what she created in the hair care products. We have many other women inventors, invented the iron. Just women have been a part of this world, and we need to be here. You can't do it without us. Can't do it without us. So I want to thank you for taking this time with me. This is our conscious giving time, as I am so grateful and thankful so grateful and thankful. Are we going to have some music? Okay. For all that Universal Spirit Center does, for your continuous love and support, for your willingness to stand in this space and to hear some of the most uncomfortable things and to agree or to disagree, but to keep coming back and to know that the source of God is right there with you and that God is in this. And so I thank you. I thank you for the many ways that you support us and for the many ways that you love us. I feel your love and support. I thank you so much for that. And you know, this is a busy time of the year. So let me just let you know what we got going on. Next Wednesday, December the 22nd, is Winter Solstice. Winter Solstice. Let's hold off on the slides. We're going to have Winter Solstice right here at the Lions Club. 6 o'clock. 6:30. 6:30 with Reverend Kevin, Dana Mosser, Linda, and myself. We will be here. It's going to be a fabulous night. Then, of course, Christmas Eve on the 24th, Friday. You'll get here at 6 o'clock and get into the groove of all the festivities that will be taking place. And Christmas morning, the 25th, it's just a weekend of Christmas. The 25th, we have our gathering at 10 a.m. and Reverend Sarah will be blessing us, giving the gathering that morning. And this isn't part of Christmas, but just so you don't forget, the 26th is Sunday. I will be here Sunday along with the band. It is the beginning of Kwanzaa, and I'm blessed that I will be sharing. I will be the guest speaker and the guest singer for the 26th. So those are our holiday festivities that are coming up. Now, let's get ready for our slides to show you. We have Feed 'em and Fun 'em taking place. This is a wonderful fundraiser that we have going on, that will be going on throughout the year. Many opportunities. So go on our webpage, check out. You can either support one or you can be a host of one, and it's easy to sign up. You get your ticket, your host will get in touch with you. We have some great things happening, and I'm just saying, I am doing Super Bowl. I'm doing Super Bowl party right here at the Lions Club, baby. February the 13th. You got to be here. Oh, we're having a good old-fashioned bake sale next Sunday. Yum, 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 yum. There'll be some yummy delights. I think you still have an opportunity. If you want to bake something, please go on our webpage, universalspiritcenter.org, and sign up for something that you want to bake and bring it on that Sunday. We will have it in our first gathering and second gathering, so nobody will miss those yummy, yummy goodies. Also coming up is our Foundation for Spiritual Living. This class will be an 11-week class. Once again, if you go online or reach out to Lee Armentrout at Universal Spirit Center, he'll give you all the information that's needed. It's a powerful class and really teaches you about our philosophy. Along with that, self-mastery will follow that with our beloved Reverend Sarah. She will be doing this class starting January the 11th, 8 Tuesdays of wonderful wisdom and knowledge. Sarah is a powerful and magnificent teacher, so you don't want to miss that. And this day, a day in history. So I want you first to take a breath. Just take a breath and breathe with me, because for us to know our past, we can't be afraid of it. We have to acknowledge it, and then we can create something new in the future. So on this day, December the 11th, in 1917, the U.S. Army executed 13 condemned black soldiers who had been denied any right to appeal. The men were sentenced to death for defending themselves after a white mob attacked their demonstration against police abuse. To overcome racial inequality, we must confront our past. So just take a breath. Just take a breath and know that this is part of the work that we are doing. This is part of the work that we are doing to recognize, to understand, to be aware. So, let us just take a moment. My tech team is, they're working on it. They're just having a little challenge over there. So, we're getting ready to come to a close. I know you can hear me, and that's wonderful. Let's just turn on some music if we can get that happening. And I just want to thank you for being a part of Kitchen Conversations, for being a part of this night, for this Divine Wednesday, for this space that allows us to express, let's turn it up, to express all that we are and to look out into what's possible. So I thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next Wednesday for Winter Solstice. Peace and blessings.